What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Evan S. How are you today? Couple things. As you have noticed, in my other videos, I had it in, was it probably like 720? Or it was cut off the sides? I don't know, I'm a tech guy. And I figured out how to add it so that it would be 1080p with filling up the whole entire YouTube screen. Got the aspect ratio. We're going to see how that comes, because I guess for whatever reason, like I said, not the tech guy, for whatever reason, I can't zoom in. This is as good as I can zoom in right now. You know, ain't nothing getting better than this for whatever reason. I think it's probably because, it is definitely because of me changing the aspect ratio. So it's either this, like you either have like a complete, full screen on YouTube, or you have, me zoomed in. Like sadly you can't have both. I could probably figure out a way to move my camera closer, but it'll just be a whole thing. Let's see what happens. I also got my pop filter today, so at least I look a little bit more professional, and at least it hides my box. So there you go. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about a little movie that came out over this past weekend that I actually got to see earlier today. The movie called Avengers Endgame. And man, I cannot wait to talk about this movie. Let me set the scene. Okay, so like I said, I recently moved, okay, from Midland to San Antonio, and I was the only theater we had then was a theater called Regal and theater called Synergy, right? So we had a Regal and a Synergy. Synergy was one of those nice, like, we're gonna sit down type of restaurants where they like deliver food to you, like a lot like that. So Regal was more like a straightforward, like old school movie theater, which is like the movie theater I prefer to go to because I've been there my whole entire life and it was close to my house and I don't want to do it. Man, this is like super framey. Okay, well I guess this episode is just going to be framey. I guess I might have to change back to the original aspect ratio because yeah, this is like super choppy and framey. Got that 60 frames per second. Maybe I just need to change to 30 frames per second. Who knows? Oh well. Doesn't matter. So I go to the movies, right? And I pay. And the Alamo Drafthouse, cool theater. No IMAX, sadly. Made me a little disappointed, but whatevs. But I went to the Alamo Drafthouse. I went over took down my seat. Paid for my ticket. Cool hipster vibe you get. Like everywhere, like such a cool little hipster, very, very modern vibe. They give me the comic book shop directly inside of it that you can go to. It's a cool place, right? Cool place. So I go over and I pay for my ticket and I sit down and yeah, I'm there maybe like 30 minutes early, and let me tell you guys, let me see what happened. Is that I sit down, and maybe like 5-10 minutes after I sit down, this beautiful woman sits down right next to me. And I'm like, hey, I'm respectful, okay? I'm not all trying to get her number, or I'm not all trying to creep on her, or look at her, or something. I'm just going to say, yeah, I was very fortunate to sit next to a beautiful woman, and I don't think that's weird. I didn't do nothing. Definitely did not. Like there was one time when I was sitting down, I had the recliner up. I ordered some chips and dip. They gave me my chips and dip, but like the little trays they have on top of you, they just go out laterally. They don't move to be in front of you, which is weird. And I was like, 'cause this is my first time there, I was like, do these things move? And she was all like, I don't think they do. And I said, well, that's weird. How am I going to eat this without getting on me? And she's like, well, you could put your recliner back down and just eat it that way. I'm like, you're smart. You're very smart. And she's like, I try. I'm like, ooh. And that's lip flirtation. And that's all I spoke to her. Like I said, I was respectful. I'm not going to go ahead. A lot of guys try to be creepers. I understand this woman just wants to watch a movie. She doesn't want this random guy sitting next to her ruining this 3-hour movie, because I'm just like, I'm sure the worst thing in her mind would be like, oh, I came here, bought a ticket, have to sit next to some dude I want to sit next to, and have him flirt with me and make it uncomfortable. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. She left a little early before the movie left. I was like, oh, she left. And then I walked out when the credits started because I knew there wasn't going to be an end credit scene. So I just walked out until the credits started. And then she was just there on her phone, just watching the movie. And I could have said hi, but I didn't. I just moved on. I just walked right past her. I walked right past her and was on my merry way. Respectfully. So yeah, I had some water. I had some chips and queso. That was real good, and I enjoyed myself. It was a nice theater, very nice theater. Big props. It's crazy because for those of you who don't know, the Alamo Drafthouse is very strict. Don't take your phones out. Don't be talking. Like, you get a warning, and then if you don't follow that warning, you're gone. And if you and they have people just like runners, just like looking straight back and forth the theater, man, just eyeing you. And it's bad because I got a text message from my brother. Couldn't answer it, I was like, I hope no one's dying right now, because if I had like a freaking 3-hour movie, I don't want to like someone die and be out of the movie, but I couldn't look at a text message because I didn't want to get kicked out. And I didn't want a warning either. And also, like I said, cute girl next to me, I don't want her to be like, oh, I can't believe this guy is on his phone. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna worry about it. Man, this is so framey. Oh well, I can't do anything about it right now. But yeah, crazy. Let me see if I can actually change this real quick where we're still recording. I apologize, fam. I know this probably doesn't look that great. Yeah, as long as it's gonna let me. Oh yeah, it's not gonna let me do it. Well, it already shows running. I'll change it for the next time. So, time to finally get to the movie, now that I'm 6 minutes in. Alright, so the movie starts. Cold open. Okay? We see Hawkeye and his family, and I guess what I should say is I straight up knew the plot line to this movie, because for about a week I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I've just been watching spoiler reviews ever since, and I don't know. To me, I just don't care. I'm not the type of guy who gets upset about spoilers, people spoiling stuff. I really don't. I mean, my opinion has always been that if a spoiler ruins a movie, because a movie is just more than just, spoilers. You got the acting, and you got the script, and you got the directing, and the sound, and all that stuff that makes a movie, special effects. All this makes a movie, not just, what you can read off of on a web page. And a lot of people disagree with me that. Most people probably do disagree with me that, but that's just been my opinion. I just appreciate art as a film. I know that sounds douchey, but I just don't care. I care more about the craft than the plot. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, I do care enough to spoil it for myself. So it's a weird dichotomy. And I'm just going to be drinking constantly throughout this because for whatever reason I am parched. So cold open. The movie starts. See that arrow straight up. And it's Jeremy Renner teaching his daughter how to shoot an arrow. And it's a fantastic scene. Fantastic young actress, one of the director's daughter. Joe Russo's daughter, I believe. I love this. You see the freaking mom from Velma from Scooby-Doo is a mom again from Age of Ultron, right? I think she was in a couple of movies, other two. Was she? I don't know. But she's back from Age of Ultron, right? They have kids. The kids are a little older. The youngest son is now like a 4-year-old, right? And this is great back and forth. Jeremy Renner and this child actress are so good because they really sell the fact that this is a family. All the actors, even the tiny bit we see, get to sell this is a family, right? And he's a family man. He's retired. He's not about the Avengers stuff anymore. He just wants to be there with his family, and that's all, right? And then he just disappears. You see her disappear, it's off screen. And I really love how this is filmed because it's filmed with Handycam, right? And so you really get to see this kind of shaking a little bit, and it just feels like you're there, right? The Russo brothers have always been good about making you feel like you're there with them, and that's what I really appreciate about their Marvel films. And people who say that all Marvel films look the same, they're a bunch of liars. Come on, Russo brothers, their films look totally different than what Joss Whedon's films looked like, which look totally different from what Black Panther looked like. Come on. Totally different from what Thor looked like. Doesn't matter. Okay, I know I'm kind of Guardians, like, I know. Like, they're way different. Anyway, fantastic use of cinematography is what I'm trying to say. And they're gone. And then Jeremy Renner kind of looks around, is like, I forgot her name, but he's just like calling out his daughter's name. He's like, where are you at? And then he calls to his wife. He's like, honey, and then she's gone too. And it's this fantastic way to begin the movie, right? Because it really, really sells you on, you don't understand. Like, that was the first time you don't understand what's going on. You're just hanging out with your family, and they vanished. Terrifying experience. And then we see the Avengers logo, the Marvel logo come up. And kind of a little underwhelming. Like, they used some weird song. I don't know. They should have changed it or something. I don't know. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. But whatever. That movie ends. That section ends. And then we see Tony Stark and Nebula in space. And let me tell you guys, I absolutely loved this scene. I love Tony Stark as a character. Not the biggest Tony Stark fan. He's not my favorite Avenger. But I do love him. I love Robert Downey Jr., don't get me wrong. I love him as that character. But just seeing Nebula, try to work with him. I love all that stuff with Nebula and Tony Stark on the ship, right? Because that stuff was just, it felt so real, just how they were watching out for each other. It just felt so organic, and it's crazy seeing these two characters who we didn't really know, right? But they just kind of ended up on a planet somehow by the same time, by pretty much chance, and all that's left from their, the groups they were with. And it's crazy because there's this random assortment of characters, but I really appreciate it. I really appreciate Nebula in this movie, and this her arc overall between the 4 films she was in. Fantastic arc. And then, Tony, he's like, emancipated, he's all skinny, man, he looks just terrible, and he's about to die. And then, of course, Captain Marvel shows up and saves the day, which was great. No problem with this. Some people online, they were like, oh, how did she find him? Okay, for one, I'm pretty sure he was sending out some sort of distress call. He still has his Iron Man helmet. Like, if he can send videos, I think he can send a distress signal. And also, I'm pretty sure Rocket knows where the ship is, or at least in the area the ship's at, right? It just didn't have a way to, get to her. So anyway, they find him, they get down. Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s acting in this next scene is fantastic, because when they lay down, before that, fantastic moment of when Nebula sits down on the Milano? Oh, no, the Benatar. Sits down on the steps of the Benatar, and Rocket sits next to her, and they hold hands. And it's, again, these were, they weren't big friends, okay, but they're the only people who really know each other, right? Because all the other Guardians are gone, and so this is we weren't close, but we're all we have now. And I thought that was a beautiful, just not even a second long scene, but it's fantastic, right? Fantastic, man. I'm gonna lose sunlight before this happens. I'm gonna turn my light on for a second. Keep on talking. Okay. A little bit better. Yeah, I was super tired when I got home from the movies, so I just kind of took a nap, and now I'm losing sunlight. But hey, we got some overcast, so there's a window over there, and normally it shines in my eyes, and I can't really sit right here, but, overcast makes it so, that's not an issue. So anyway, then we see probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when Tony is sitting down, and he's all has, IVs in him, and he's just, pissed. He's like, I failed, I lost again. He has this great line when he's like, I told you we should have built an armor around the world, but your precious freedoms, were so, your freedom was so important to you. And it's great. It's this is, I'm so happy that Civil War still has these ramifications, right? At least for the scene, Tony's still pissed at Captain America for what he did. He's still pissed. And it kind of goes back where he tried to, make a freaking, armor around the world in Age of Ultron, but that didn't work out, that just caused, Ultron to happen. And so, long story short, like Nebula's like, we know where it's at. We know where the stones were used again. But she's like, I know where Thanos is at. And, they can go. Tony doesn't go, but it's a team of, you got War Machine, you got Captain Marvel, you got Black Widow, you got Captain America, you got Thor, and I believe you got Rocket too. And I don't know, like, did I count Nebula? I don't remember. Anyway, so it's an interesting group of Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. And, yeah, all these people mixed up together, right? And, of course, we see Thanos, and Thanos then got the stones. Thanos like, oh, man, I love Josh Brolin. This is probably my favorite scene. My favorite Thanos scene in all the movies so far is probably this scene right here. When he's just limping. He's just a farmer. He's limping. You can tell, like, his, like, Infinity Gauntlet is just, like, burnt on his hand permanently. He's, like, has the burns on his freaking scar right here, like over his neck. He's just not looking good. He's weakened. Like, it's so great because, like, in the last movie, he was this, like, formidable force, right? This almost godlike being that they couldn't beat, and now he's this weak old man, and, like, he doesn't even get put up a fight, and they grab him, chop his hands off. He's like, no, I destroyed the stones, like, this destroys, the stones had their use, and I destroyed them. And then he's just like, at this point, he's like, you're going to just kill me. I did what I wanted to do. And then he has this great moment when he's like, Nebula, I should have been nicer to you. And then Thor just chops his head off. He's like, I aim for the head. And then he just walks out, and the movie ends, right? And like that. Oh, the movie doesn't end, but that scene ends. And the scene that's like 5 years later. It was fantastic. We get to see kind of Steve is like, hosting a help group, I guess, right? With like Joe Russo's there, and the creators of Thanos is there, so that's fun. And then we get to see what Black Widow's up to. She's kind of still trying to regulate, what's happening with the Avengers. We learn like Hawkeye, what he's been up to, and which I think that's next. I don't know. I don't know if that's the next scene or not. But pretty much what happens is she finds out, Ant-Man, right? The little rat walks by his quantum realm thing from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he just spits out. And they have camera from Kim Jong, or Kim, I forgot his name. I apologize. The guy from Community, which was great because, Winter Soldier had Abed, right? Civil War had the guy that was the dean from Community, all these Community references, and we didn't get any Community cameos in Infinity War, but this movie they made it right by giving us 2 cameos. So you know what, they added it up with Yvette Cole Brown. No Joe McHale, Alison Brie, Chevy Chase, but no one wants to work with Chevy Chase. And so, he comes out, and like, oh man, this scene was great. I love this scene when he comes out, and like 5 years has passed, and he just doesn't know, and you see like the world is just in shambles, right? Like Thanos thought the world was gonna be great, but this is like 5 years into it, and things are just not. And he goes and see his memorial for in San Francisco, and he's like, oh man, hopefully my daughter's not there, and he sees his own name, and then he's like freaks out, but then he goes to his daughter's house. And then, she's older, but she's still alive, and they meet each other, and they have you're so big. Great scene. That scene was probably the 2 scenes that kind of made me tear up a little bit. It was that scene and another scene later on. So then he comes out, and then they meet Hawkeye, I think that's the next scene. They meet Hawkeye, and Hawkeye is freaking Ronin now. He's freaking, this is awesome sword fight. When he's fighting all these Yakuza bosses, and it's bloody, and it's violent, and it's all one shot, and it was fantastic. One of my favorite, probably my favorite action scene in the movie, if I'm being real. I really dig that. Reminds me a lot of the work on Winter Soldier. They made Hawkeye so cool. I love Hawkeye. I love people hate Hawkeye. I've always loved him, even since his small cameo in Thor. I thought he was a cool character. So I don't know. I like the weird guys, I guess. But yeah, they made him so awesome, and then freaking Black Widow finds him, and they join up again. And then freaking Ant-Man is like, oh, yo, I was there for 5 years in the quantum realm. And they're all like, okay. But that must have been bad. It's like, no, like, it only felt like 5 hours. Like, what if we can go through the quantum realm and, learn, like, time travel? And they couldn't figure it out. But that was a great scene, too. Because, like, Scott Lang, he's an idiot. But I was happy that he was able to, like, even him, who was able to make that, two and two together, right? Like, this is something that we can do. Like, we can beat Thanos. We can do this, right? Which is great. So that happens. And then after that, what was the next scene? I forgot. Oh, after that is they go to Tony's house. And we see Tony Stark for the first time again. And he's living a great life. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has a great deal what's going on now. Tony Stark, he has this beautiful lake house. He has a daughter now. He's with Pepper again. He's settled down. He's retired. He's like, I'm done with superhero life. And he's just like, things are great for him, Things are absolutely great. None of Tony's friends disappeared, too, besides Peter Parker, I guess. But, Vision died. But just Tony is just there with his, Happy's still there. Rhodey's still there. Pepper's still there. He has a daughter. Like, things are fantastic, right? Things are fantastic with him. And then he gets a knocking on the door, and it's the Avengers, and like, hey, we can do this. We can go back in time. And he's like, I don't want to do this. This is dumb. I don't want to ruin my daughter. I'm retired. And so they're like, okay, well, we can't. I love the scene too. I'm kind of glossing over it, but I love the scene. I love just the back and forth of it. I love like Scott Lang is like, because Scott Lang is like this has just been new to him. It's only been a few days at this point. So he hasn't really like set down, like he hasn't really a chance to become that pessimistic about it, right? And just seeing him with all these other characters, right, who are just been there for 5 years and just been like dealing with it, like it's fantastic back and forth. I really love Tony in this scene. At this point, he's kind of forgiven Captain America about everything, He's like, I'm just happy to be alive. And he's like, oh, you guys can stay for lunch, but, you can't talk shop around my family. And they're like, well, so we're going to leave. We need some brains. And so they get freaking Bruce Banner, who fused with the Hulk. And I love this, because Mark Ruffalo has talked about, Kevin Feige went up to him and he's like, if you had a chance to do a standalone Hulk movie, what would it be about? And, Mark Ruffalo said he told Kevin Feige what his idea was. And Kevin Feige was like, well, why don't we do that, but kind of integrate it into some film? So it started off in Thor Ragnarok, was when that character walked done. Then, of course, when he was basically the Hulk for most of the time. And then they had Infinity War when he was basically Bruce Banner for the most of the time. And then you see him in this film, which he's now, like, fused. Like, they're one being now. Hulk and Banner are one, creature now, which is great. Like, it's great to see that. No one knew about it, too. Like, they kept that up for marketing. I knew about it because I, read the leaks. But they kept that away from marketing. So kudos for them for that. And so they're eating. There's a great scene when they're at the diner, and he's like, time travel, okay. And so they try to do time travel, and it fails. Like, he tries to build him a quantum suit, and he goes back in time, and he comes back, and he's like a little kid, and then they send him back, he comes back in, he's an old man, and they send him back in, and he's a baby, and then they finally fix it, and he comes back as a regular Paul Rudd. And I was like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic, right? And then I can't remember what happens after that. Like, I think what happens is Tony is, like, he figures out time travel. And he figures it all out. And he's like, talks to Pepper. And he's like, hey, I figured this out. I can just throw it in the bottom of the lake. And she's like, you won't be able to rest if you do that. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So he goes to the Avengers compound. And he says, hey, I discovered time travel to Captain America. And he also gives him back his shield, which was great. Because, of course, he lost his shield at the end of Captain America Civil War when he just threw it. Such a great scene. Civil War is just a great movie. When he just threw that shield out. And he's like, hey, I don't use this anymore. And he's like, hey, yeah, you're right. I should really watch Civil War again. I love that movie. But anyway... he gives him the shield back, and he's like, oh, I figured out time travel, and they figured it out, and they build a time machine, And then he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We have to find the Infinity Stones. And if we can find the Infinity Stones and bring them back, because they're destroyed, we can bring them back now, and then we can use it and bring everyone back. And it's like, okay, great. But they only have enough PIM particles because they're using the which I loved this too, that they're using like the Ant-Man technology, because they have the quantum realm suits all look very Ant-Man-y, right? Which I loved. I thought it was really cool. And like, okay, we have the teams. So we have like, 4 or 5 teams up to do this. You have Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man. They're going to go to New York 2012, the setting of the first Avengers movie. And then you have Rocket and Thor going to Thor the Dark World to find the Ether, the reality gem. Because New York they realized, there's 3 Infinity Stones in New York at one time, which is like the Mind Stone, the Tesseract, and the Time Stone, right? Like all 3 in New York at the same time, so we gotta go get that. And then we have Thor and Rocket Raccoon, which I love. I love Rocket Raccoon. He's one of my favorite characters. Like one of my complaints from this movie is not enough Rocket Raccoon, because I love him as a character. He's freaking fan. It's great to see him grow too, from like the past, like especially how he was like in Guardians 2. You really see his development he has from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Really come here when he really accepts, like, hey, the Guardians are my family. I need to bring them back. I love them. So it's great to see Rocket, like, because he was like, I don't care about the Guardians. Like, no, he does. But, they didn't use a lot of him. So him and Thor are out to go find the Reality Stone. And I'll talk about that later. Probably the second scene I cried was in this scene, or teared up. And then him are doing that, and Nebula and War Machine are going to go up find the Power Stone from the original Guardians of the Galaxy. And, what's her name? Black Widow and Ronan, Hawkeye, are going to find the Soul Stone. So you have your missions. Let's all go. And I really love this section. Like, I think the first 2 hours of this movie are like my favorite 2 hours. Because I love seeing the beginning of the film, which was like this very slow build up, right? Like, because it is the opposite of Infinity War in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate that. Because Infinity War is a great film, but it's pretty much just battle after battle after battle after battle. Endgame, they really gave you a chance to really reflect on things, and it's a lot slower. There's not nearly as much action, but it's great. Like, I think that was really a good call that they made them. Like, they said there were 2 different films, and they really are 2 different films. And I think that's fantastic. I love that. Like, I think it's fantastic. And I love this whole time heist section because it's so, not like the most unique plot point, but like for Avengers, it's plot points. And like, I love how they all edited, they all kind of cut, together. They probably could have edited them out, to be a little more like they're going on at the same time. They do that a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily happen. It kind of like just sets stuff up, and then you come back them again. And that's kind of it. I like to see more cutting back between, but whatever. The small little complaint for somebody. So Thor comes in, and so they go to 2012 for the Avengers, and that's probably like my favorite scene they probably went back to. Is seeing the 2012 Avengers, seeing what happened. I love seeing, like, what happens after the Battle of New York. That was great. And this is when we get to see, like, really fantastic cameos. We see Loki again, of course. We see the Secretary from Winter Soldier, Robert Redford, came back. We see Tilda Swinton. We see the guys from... the bad guys like Hydra from... Winter Soldier. Like, I love the scene because it shows them, like, this is what happened after they beat Loki, and it's just like a fantastic scene, right? And then Hulk's funny because, like, Hulk is like, you take the stairs. Like, I'm not gonna take the stairs, and he's all angry. It was a great scene. And then they're able to, Captain America is able to get the scepter back from the Hydra agents, and he goes back into the elevator. It looks like they're gonna repeat the elevator fight from Winter Soldier. But he's like, I'm going to take the scepter. Someone's going to steal it. And he's like, no, that's no big deal. And then they all look like who's going to fight him. And he's like, hey, that's not a problem. And he whispers, Hail Hydra. He's like, Hail Hydra. Which is great. And they just gave him the scepter and he walked out. And, like, it's fantastic. Like, they just gave those scary-looking dudes. And, like, Ant-Man has a funny line about, they look like bad guys. Anyway, fantastic line. And then Captain America fights Captain America from 2012, and it was great seeing him because you get to see how like different he is, which is great. You can see how different all these characters all have been. I guess it's like 11 years for their point like out here. It's been 11 years for them, and seeing how they've all matured and grown up over this time was fantastic. And seeing crap, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Captain America fights Captain America, and there's this big old fight, and he's like, Trinity 12, Captain America's like, I can do this all day. And he's like, I know. But he was able to distract him by saying Bucky's alive, which of course was like a criticism people gave Captain America. It's like, oh, mention Bucky. And he just like freezes, like, what? And then he just uses a Mind Stone to pass him out. There's a great joke about how he's like, man, I have a nice ass. That is America's ass. So that happens. And then Hulk is able to get the Time Stone from freaking the Ancient One by, what was that actress's name? Tilda Swinton. And Tilda Swinton doesn't want to give it up, and he's like, no, if we just hand it back out, like, time, she's like, if you take these Time Stones, it's going to destroy our reality. He's like, not if we bring them back. And if we bring them back right when we found them, and he's like, well, that's only if you survive. He's like, we'll survive. And he's like, I'm not going to give it back. Well, Doctor Strange gave it to Thanos. He's like, why would he do that? He's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, he must have had a plan. Because, she's like, she knows Doctor Strange is, be the next Sorcerer Supreme. He's like, he's supposed to be the next one. Which I guess I don't really get, because, like, in Doctor Strange, she didn't really know a lot about Doctor Strange, from what I remember. She's like, oh, who's this guy? But then, no, now she's like, oh, no, Doctor Strange is now a dude. So, whatever. So, anyway. So, that happens. And she gives him the Time Stone, and she's like, okay, don't lose it. And, of course, that's great. But then, freaking, they end up botching trying to steal the Tesseract from Loki, or from the government. A big hullabaloo happens. Loki ends up, getting the Tesseract and disappears. And it's like, oh, crap. Loki is back. Like, Loki's gone. And that's probably where his, like, Disney show is going to show up. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then I go, what we're going to do? And then Tony Stark is like, oh, we can get, because they're out of pin particles, right? Like, well, we can't go back in time anymore. Like, we only have enough time to go back. And then he's like, will you and Hulk go back to present day? And Captain America and Iron Man, we're going to go in to find more pin particles, and we're going to go to find the Tesseract, because they're in the Camp David from Captain America First Avenger, and I think Captain America Winter Soldier too. Like, that was shield base. Like, we're in that area, and we're going to be in that area, and we can find pin particles. It's like, you better not mess up. You'll be stuck in the 70s. Oh, we're going to do it. And so they go back in time, and we have a great scene when Iron Man finds the Tesseract, but he meets his dad, John Slattery, another great cameo. And they have a great moment about, hey, I have a father, or I have a daughter, and he's like, oh, I'm becoming a son, and it's a great scene. It's a great scene. I love seeing Tony Stark finally be able to meet his dad and, like, tell him, hey, listen, like, basically, without saying him directly, saying, you know what, my dad, like, I love you, and you were a hard man, but I still loved you, right? So I'm like, that's great, right? You know what I'm saying? That's great. And then Captain America, he steals a pin particle to see Michael Douglas, young Michael Douglas, which is cool. And where he steals a pin particle, sneaks into the office, steals a pin particles, and then he sees Peggy Carter, and then he's like, oh man, what my life could have been. What my life could have been. And so they two meet up again. They come back and like, okay, our mission is complete. And then you see Thor and Rocket Raccoon. They, short section. I'll try to hurry up here because I'm going a little bit long. But you see Thor and Rocket Raccoon. They see they find the ether. You see Natalie Portman. You see freaking Rene Russo, right? They came back, which was fantastic. No one thought they did. And they had Thor has a great scene with his mom. I love that scene. That's probably one of my favorite scenes of that movie, if not, at least one of my favorite dramatic scenes of that movie, I would say. Because I still think that Hawkeye action scene is my favorite action scene in the movie. My favorite dramatic scene was when Thor was talking to his mom. And he's like, I just need to talk. And she's like, well, let's talk. And it's like such a great, like, I'm your mother, we're going to talk it out. And she knows he's from a different timeline. She knows what's going on. And he's like, I just don't know what. And she gives him some advice and says, we all fail when we do what we're supposed to do. You gotta be what you gotta be, and that's what makes a true hero. It's like, you're a failure, but, you're still a hero, right? And then, it was a great scene. And then Rocket comes in, and Thor gets his hammer, and he's like, I'm going to fight again. I'm Thor again. And Thor, because Thor's fat. I don't think I established that early on, but Thor's now fat. And he's just playing Fortnite with Meek and Korg, which is a great scene, because I just love seeing Thor hang out with Meek and Korg. They were New Asgard in Norway. Anyway, I forgot about that. But basically, that's what's going on. And so he's all fat, he's disheveled, he's having issues, and then he ends up, he still fights though. He still goes down. He's still gonna, he's scared and he's dealing with all these issues, but he's still gonna do what he's gotta do. And that's why he's a hero, that's why he's Thor. And so he grabs his hammer, Mjolnir, past version of it. And that was a great moment when he's like, oh, before we go, I need to do something, and he reaches his hand out. And like Freya is like, Walker's like, what are we doing? And then Frigga is like, oh, sometimes it takes a second. And he grabs it and is like, I'm still worthy, which is a great moment. So they have the ether. They're gone. And then we see the scene of, War Machine and Nebula. They go find the Power Stone from Guardian of the Galaxy. It's funny, you see like the intro of Guardian of the Galaxy with Peter Quill dancing, and he sings really bad, and they knock him out, grab the Power Stone. They're great. A great freaking Indiana Jones not Temple of Doom, Waiters reference, right? Yeah, of the Lost Ark reference. There, and then they take the stone, but it turns out that Nebula and freaking what is in the same mainframe with her past self, which is the 2014 self, who's evil. And they got their wires crossed, and then Thanos and Gamora, he learns about what's going on. And he's like, oh crap, stuff is going on. Now Thanos is being back in the hold, right? And then she can't go back in time, it's not working. And then they kidnap her, and then Nebula's like the past Nebula, Eva Nebula, is like, I'm gonna go take her place, so I can make my dad proud of me. And he goes back, so she goes back to the past. And then that all happens, and then we see a scene of Black Widow and Hawkeye over there hanging out on Vormir. The Red Skull says you have to gain a stone, you have to lose what you love most, which is a great fight scene, because what happens, which one's going to die? You could tell they've been there for hours, right? Because it's sitting down, contemplating about what's going on. And then she's like, no, I have to die. And he's like, no, I'm going to die. And they have a fight scene trying to get the other one. It's a great fight scene. It's a fight scene for the person who's trying to win was trying to die, which is great. Great little, thing that they put on their head. And so Black Widow dies. She sacrifices herself so Hawkeye can have the Soul Stone. And all the Avengers come back, right? And then it's like, oh great, our missions have passed. We've done it. It's like, where's Black Widow? And Hawkeye's just crying because they're like, oh, she's dead. She gave her life. It's like, well, she died. But we're going to make sure she counts. Great scene with Thor when he's like, we can just bring her back. And then they're like, no, we can't. It's absolute. He's like, what? He's like, no, you can't bring her back. She's going to die. And so it's like, all right, fine. So, that happens. I'm trying to adjust my pop filter here. So that happens, right? Thor comes in, and he, sorry, I don't know where I'm at. So they have all the Infinity Stones, and they're like, oh, who's going to use it? And Hulk's like, I'm the only one who can use it. And so they let Hulk use it. He snaps his fingers, and, just cool. It's just cool for a second. Oh, we think it worked, right? Did it work? We don't know if it worked. And then Thanos attacks. And then it's this great scene when we have freaking Thanos is over there. He puts his this awesome freaking anime sword. This awesome anime sword he's got. Sticks out on the ground. And he puts his helmet on there and just sits and waits. And you have the other Avengers come up. And it's Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. Oh, we're going to fight him. And we have this fantastic fight scene because all the other Avengers are like, blown up, like they were trying to, like, Rocket and War Machine and Banner are like underground and they can't get it. And Ant-Man is like, oh, I'm gonna come save you. So Ant-Man's trying to save you. Freaking Hawkeye is like in the bottom of the wells or tunnels underneath the compound, and like the monsters from freaking Infinity War come and start chasing him. And so he is running, and they're trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet. It's like, oh, I can't let this happen. This is bad. So he's running, and then this is a great fight scene between Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America. Which this is honestly when I kind of started like dozing off because I was like, because I love the first two Thors of this movie and this action scene. Like this part was kind of cool, but I kind of like started like drifting away mentally. Maybe that's because I knew it was gonna happen. Because I loved even though I knew what was happening. Alright, even though I spoiled it for myself, I still thought the first two Thors of this movie were fantastic, 10 out of 10. But I guess the fight scenes, I don't know, like they didn't lack the dramatic punch. Maybe that's because I spoiled it for myself. Okay, maybe that's just because I just didn't really like it because it's CGI fest. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't really captivated with this fight scene. It is a badass moment when they're fighting, and Thor is like dual wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. And, it looks like Thanos is about to kill Captain America. But Captain America is able to use Mjolnir for the first time, which is great. Because, like, they set that up in Age of Ultron. And Thor's like, I knew it. I knew he could do it. And then he's using, like, his shield with Mjolnir at the same time. And Tangentum, I think is the term. Which is fantastic. Freaking fantastic fight scene. I did love that scene. But, like, freaking Thanos just like Iron Man gets like knocked out. I think like real early at the scene because I think that's because they want his moment was coming out a little later. I think they want to give this moment to Captain America, and he kind of like gets knocked out. It doesn't really do a lot, And then he's like Captain America's using the power of Thor, like he's like actually sending thunderbolts down and like kicking his ass. But then freaking Thanos is like using his sword to chip away his shield, and his shield is destroyed, and it's like Thor is just kind of knocked out, Iron Man's knocked out, and you see like all the armies of Thanos just launch on, which was a cool shot. Like that part was cool because all of Thanos' forces launched on, and Thanos is like, I never took anything personal, but I'm gonna enjoy what I'm gonna do to your planet. And because that Thanos is like, I failed, Thanos is like, I failed, but now I'm going to, instead of taking half away, I'm gonna destroy this reality and create a new one. And so, anyway, it was great. And see Captain America, he's like this busted shield, he just gets up, and he's like, tightens it, and he's just him against his Captain America. And that's when you hear one of the coolest scenes, when you hear, like, freaking Falcon is on the earpiece, and he's like, Cap, can you read me? He's like, what? Can you read me? On your left. And you see, like, the portal open up, and you have freaking Black Panther, right? And Okoye and Shuri just step out of this portal, and you see freaking Falcon fly right out of it, right? And then all like Doctor Strange portals open up. You see freaking the armies of Wakanda, like they're ready to fight, they're ready to stand up and defend Earth. And then you see the Asgardians pop up, led by Valkyrie. And then you see the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy come up. And some people say the Ravagers were there. I didn't see the Ravagers. Alright, but a lot of people are saying the Ravagers were in the final battle. I hadn't noticed any of the ships. But, I could be wrong. And then you have How the Duck is there also. So, I don't know. And everyone's there. Everyone who died. Everyone who's in the final battle of Wakanda. Everyone who's in the final battle of Titan. They all came back. And Spider-Man's back. And they're all ready to kick ass. And there's a lot of cool fight scenes here. But this is that time, it's a badass thing. Nebula destroyed the time machine. So, Thanos can't come back now. And then, what all happened? And Thanos can't come back. And because he's just going to destroy the whole entire world. And this big badass fight scene. And there's one point when Scarlet Witch fights Thanos because she's all pissed off for killing Vision. And she's like, you took everything from me. And he's like, I don't even know who you are. And she's like, you will. And she goes off full power Scarlet Witch and brings down the heat. And Thanos is like, you have to use the freaking hellfire, and then like our troops like just do it, and like he had to use a hellfire, and then there's like this big giant ship, and like the ship is like, oh, we got that ship's terrifying, and then you have like freaking Captain Marvel coming out and destroying the ship, and she has like that short haircut, which is great. Can I talk to the manager haircut, which I appreciated. So that's going on, right? That's going on right there. And Captain Marvel is being a badass and destroying ships left and right. Ant-Man comes in. He's Giant Man now. He's all stepping on people. And he's like, oh, well, we have to get these guys back. We have to defeat them. And then, there's all, and now it's like a whole short, like it's all trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet, right? They're trying to pass the Infinity Gauntlet through. First, like Hawkeye has it, then he passes it to Black Panther, and Black Panther gives it to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man gives it to Captain Marvel, and he's like, hey, I'm Peter Parker, and she's like, hey, Peter Parker, do you have something for me? He's like, I don't know how you're going to take this through over there, and then she's like, she has help, and you have like all the women Avengers and all the female characters all joined together. That was a cool scene. A lot of people, it's pandering, sure, but it's still badass. I like some girl power, some Sailor Moon, massive girl power, and that was awesome. Like, I really appreciated that scene. It was cool. And so they grab the scene. They grab it. They all fight. And then, there's an earlier in the movie, Iron Man. Oh, yeah, and the Pepper's there. She has, like, the rescue outfit. She is all fighting alongside Tony Stark. That's really cool. And then there's this great scene when Iron Man is to Doctor Strange. He's like, you told me it was like 40,000 blah 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 to 1. Like, is this the one? He's like, if I tell you, it's not gonna happen. And of course, later on in the fight, he he's fighting Thanos. They're trying to get away with the Infinity Gauntlet. Eventually, Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet. But he's about to put on a snap, and Captain Marvel grabs it from him, and he does he headbutts him, and like Captain Marvel just stays there. And he didn't even affect her, and he's trying to beat her, and eventually he has to take the Power Stone out and punch her and knock her out. And then he has the Infinity Gauntlet. It's like, oh, what's happening with the Infinity Gauntlet? And then he takes the Infinity Gauntlet, and then he just looks at Tony Stark just looks to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is like, this is one chance. And so he, Thanos is about to put the Infinity Gauntlet on again. And then, but Iron Man tries to find it. You don't see what Iron Man's doing, and he knocks him back. He's like, "I want to snap," and then nothing happens. And you see Captain America, Iron Man, with all the Infinity Stones. And there's a great line with Thanos is like, "I'm inevitable," and Iron Man has the Infinity. He's like, and he's like, "And I am Iron Man," and snaps. And all Thanos' forces die. And then Gamora's also there too. 2014 Gamora is good, and they kill Bad Nebula. I forgot about that point. They kill Bad Nebula, and Gamora turned good, and then she meets Peter Quill, but she doesn't remember him, and kicks him in the groins. And no, it doesn't matter. Tony Stark's dead. Tony Stark is dead, everyone. And he is dying, or he's dying, and this is a great moment. Rhodey has a time to say goodbye to him. And Peter Parker has a time to say goodbye to him, and then Pepper has one of the great scenes of the movie is when Pepper's like, Tony, you can rest now. We're gonna be okay. And then he dies, and she starts crying. This is a great scene, right? A great scene. And then we have the funeral of Tony Stark, and you see a ton of people. And this at the time, because this is by the Alamo Draft Test, they gave me my receipts. And so I was actually writing down my receipts, so I actually was not paying attention at this particular moment here, right? But then you see all these people, everyone from the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, the cast of Ant-Man, to of course all the Avengers, to Nick Fury, I didn't see Ty Simpkins because I was looking down, but Ty Simpkins there from Iron Man 3, and they're all just there to witness the funeral of Tony Stark. And so that happens, and okay, and then it's a tragic scene. I think the next scene is after Tony Stark's funeral. They have perfect send off for Robert Downey Jr. And let me just say that perfect send off for that character. He died. It wasn't even sad. It's just his life is complete now, and it's his arc is done. And it wasn't a death I really felt sad about. And so he died, and then the next scene is you have Thor, and he's talking to Valkyrie, and he's like, to Valkyrie, and he's like, Valkyrie, you're queen of Asgard now. I'm no longer want to be king. And she's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I have a new calling. I don't want to be king. I don't want to be what I'm supposed to be. I want to be what I want to do. And he joins the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is great. He has a good back and forth with Peter Quill. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait. I really hope that means, because like Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. were both like, we're done with Marvel movies. We're done with this. While Chris Hemsworth has been like, I want to do more. Like, I want to play this character for more years. So happy that they found a way to kind of use him and Guardians of the Galaxy now, because that's really smart. And I think it really fits in with that world, right? And so that's great, right? And so they move along. And this is a great scene with him and Peter Quill. And they're like, we're going to find Gamora. And he's like, I'm the leader. He's like, oh, of course. Of course. Of course. It's a great scene. Great scene. And he's still fat, by the way. Thor, always fat throughout the movie. Never became skinny. Hopefully he'll be sexy Thor in the next one. He'll work out again and get those gains back. And then we see a scene when it's Hulk, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Captain America. And Captain America, he's going to bring back the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir back to his timeline. And he's like, all right, I'll be back. But he doesn't come back. And like Sam is like all pissed off. He's like, what happened? You better bring him back. And then of course like Bucky is like, come on, Sam, look at him. And you see like you have an elderly Captain America sitting down there. And he's sitting down there and he's hanging out. And he's hanging out and he's chilling, and he's like, hey, did something go wrong or something go right? And he's like, well, I decided to get a life when I returned the stones. And then he shows him has like a wedding ring, and like the Falcon's like, are you gonna tell me about her? And he's like, no. And he's like, oh, man, I just don't know if I could live in a world without Captain America. And of course the great scene when that reminds me, he takes like a Captain America shield and he gives it to Falcon, and Falcon like hands up, and he's like, I don't think, like, he's like, he has this great line when he's like, how does it feel? And he's like, it belongs to someone else. And he's like, well, it doesn't. And he's like, I'll do my best. And then Captain America, or I should say Steve Rogers, tells Captain America now. Steve Rogers tells Captain America that that's why it should be you. Like, I love that passing of the torch, passing of the shield thing. I love that when that happens in superhero movies or whatever. I always love it. And then the very last scene is we cut back to what appears to be the 1940s, 1950s, and Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter are having their dance. Okay, I think that's all about the movie. Let me tell you, this movie was fantastic. I loved the first two arcs probably better than the last one. The battle scene, when it comes to like the battle scene, it's just like, this is a CGI fest. I wasn't really feeling it. It was cool seeing Captain America lift Thor's hammer, and there was like a lot of cool scenes. The death of Iron Man was cool. For the most part, it was just, CGI. But the first two scenes were great, and I love everything pretty much before that. Pretty much everything from the beginning of the movie to that point when, like, right after all the other Avengers come back through the portals, right? Like, even that scene was awesome when they come out through the portals. That scene was hype, and everything from that scene, after the scene when they just like started running, when the Captain America's like, Avengers assemble, which was a great scene, and when they're charging down to the bad guys, like everything after that until Tony Stark decides to die. For the most part, there's some cool sequences, but for the most part, I was kind of like, in and out. I don't really care. But like overall, it's a fantastic film, and everything after that scene, like when Tony Stark kills himself, and like snaps to the end of the movie, is fantastic too. So it was really just that final battle scene, like the majority of it, or like maybe like half of it, that I just kind of like slept on. That's a big set piece at the end, of course, but whatever, it's fine. So yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. And I really enjoyed seeing, who was it? I really enjoyed seeing, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy again. Spider-Man came back again, dealing with the fallout. I really love everything after, like, the snap, or, like, after, like, Tony Stark snaps. Like, that was a great scene. And, man, like, I guess because I don't know what else to say it, like, it's kind of weird to say this, but like Spider-Man, they're saying Captain Marvel is like the new main character in the MCU. I'm sure they're still gonna stick with that, but I think like Spider-Man would kind of be like the co-lead, like just how they had like Robert Downey Jr. and like Captain America be like the two leads or whatever. I think they're probably gonna do the same with like Captain Marvel and Spider. The big three now, without a doubt, are gonna be Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and Spider-Man. Like, I think that would be really smart, because those are all popular characters that people love. Got some diversity in there. And, of course, you have Spider-Man. And Spider-Man, of course, being amazing because, coming from when you first see him in Civil War, when he's kind of like, kind of manipulated by Stark. He's guided by Stark, but also kind of manipulated him. To see him have Homecoming and to see him, kind of grow up and, like, try to grow up and become more of a man, like have that kind of shonen, hero thing when he's like decides I'm gonna grow up and kill the boy and I'm gonna let the man be born. And then you see this great scene and you have like his mentor die too, which is like that's his character development, like his time has come, like Tony Stark's time came and went, and now I think Spider-Man is going to be the one to really take on that manner and take that center stage, and we'll see what happens in Spider-Man Far From Home, because that's going to be an interesting movie, so I'm excited to see that. And yeah, overall fantastic film. I loved it. I loved everything about it. Besides that, minute. Ranking is hard. It's definitely my favorite movie with the name Avengers in it, and I mean that as because it's probably my favorite Avengers movie, but I still count Captain America Civil War as my favorite movie, and that's kind of an Avengers movie. But I love it better than Avengers. I love it better than Age of Ultron. I love it better than Infinity War, right? I don't love it as much as Civil War, or probably don't love it. That's probably number 4 on my list, to be honest. I'll probably go Captain America Civil War, then I'll go Spider-Man Homecoming, then I'll probably go Black Panther. Love Black Panther. Then I'll go Endgame, and then number 5 I'll probably go with like Infinity War. And Winter Soldier probably should be there too, which sucks, but I love Winter Soldier too. Winter Soldier's probably number 6. Doesn't matter. Joe and Anthony Russo did a fantastic job. I would love to get down to them and like talk to them. I would love to talk to Joe and Anthony and Marcus and McFeely, the screenwriters, and just pick their brains a bit and see how is this possible? How did you guys go from making all these fantastic films that just keep on getting bigger with a much bigger staff, much more complex, and just a little bit of time, So yeah, that'd be great. Great movie. I can't wait to see it again. I probably won't see it in the theaters again, but I can't wait to see it back to back. I definitely watch it in December when Disney Plus comes out, or November when Disney Plus comes out. And I'll probably watch Infinity War and Endgame back to back because I do want to do that. That'd be a fun day off, like a Saturday or something, or whenever you're off. Like I'm gonna watch Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and Endgame. I might just watch all Joe and Anthony movies, or Anthony Russo movies, starting from Winter Soldier to Civil War to Infinity War to Endgame. That'd be a pretty cool all-day marathon. Okay, well, I'm reaching about the hour mark. A couple of things before I go. I'm still working on editing my video. I've been having some issues with editing software. I was going to do it today, but I got sidetracked. I saw the movie, I went grocery shopping, and then I just fell asleep. And now I'm here. So I'm probably going to work on that hopefully tomorrow or some other time. Get that up before Friday is my goal. And at least some version of it, It's not going to be the best video, right? I wrote a script, and, it's kind of hard for me to speak. Recite the script, so maybe I'll just know what I'm gonna say, because I think I might do better when I just have more. I think I might do better instead of just having a direct script of saying what I want to say, and just have like an idea. I need to make all these plot points, and I think I'll probably make the video probably feel better, more genuine. I might switch to that. Might record some stuff, but yeah. So look for that, and make sure like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what your favorite MCU movie is. Tell me when you think Endgame ranks in the rest of the movies, and go from there. So bye guys, and you have a blessed day.